What is up, everybody? It's your boy Verdict here, and thanks so much for stopping by. Now today I'm coming in with some great news. The Global Labs patch just landed, and we have another change towards our Awakening Maegu specifically. So I'll do a couple of remarks after we read the entire thing, and the most important part is kind of to understand what the developer is thinking. So let's just begin with the statement. Now please understand it's a little bit iffy. Translations are really kind of poor up until they get to the video foundry, and in reality they might be a little bit inaccurate. So let's keep on with this. Maegu Awakening has increased the duration of the critical damage increase effect obtained through the passive effect of this skill, when I think this is the Spirit Forge skill, when reinvigorated, thereby easing the difficulty of maintaining it. Additionally, the damage of skills with insufficient PvE damage has been adjusted. In addition, the Maegu Awakening skills do not have the effect of increasing accuracy or reducing evasion rate. And taking into account the battle with low skill hit rate, an evasion rate reduction effect has been added to the 4-paw tearing technique. Through this, we aimed to make improvements to compensate for the insufficient hit rate. This is completely true. Awakening Maegu she's very polarizing. Some of our abilities have 20%, which is a lot, and then some of our abilities have literally 4%. And it's very important to kind of not have this incredibly polarizing experience whenever you're playing Maegu, because you only understand that Maegu doesn't necessarily struggle with accuracy at the double pen black star levels, and once you kind of build your gear up a lot to be able to compensate for the lack of base, and her base is kind of really low. So speaking of the tearing paws, a 9% evasion reduction effect for 10 seconds has been added to the front paw tearing technique upon successful hitting. And speaking of this, it's called end of semester. Not sure what this is. The duration of the increased critical hit damage effect obtained through the passive effects of the skill critical strike has been changed from 20, 10 and 5 seconds, this is very important, to 30, 20 and 10. So what this means is the increase of duration by almost 100% for the third iteration of the passive, which is the most important one, where you get the 10% critical hit damage, has been increased by literally twice. Now this is so incredibly important because it's extremely essential for Awakening Maegu to go into pre-awakening, and unfortunately because of the very small duration of this buff, you can still maintain it, by the way, post entering and pre-awakening. It stays and buffs your abilities. It's very important for this buff to occur because you can now really just do all of your skills, just be very adequate with your kit in pre-awakening without getting punished that much for it. Punishing is still there, but you're not getting punished that much for it. In reality, this is a great change. It's a crazy quality of life change, and it's one that is just going to elevate Maegu to new heights. So the damage of the following skin has been changed. So what we have is Emberclaw Torrent, we have Emberclaw Strike and its flow, and we have the Shift Q ability, which is Emberclaw Finale. So all of these abilities have been adjusted by just a little bit, nothing too important, literally, it's nothing that important. And I'm still happy with this change because she did like a little bit of an oomph to her, and in general this is a trivial change really, but it's one that we still needed. Awakening Maegu still felt like she was not really there after the buffs, especially if you go into Gyfin Lower. She did not feel like this is the thing for her. Now, with this 9% accuracy evasion rate, with all of the changes over here, she will be definitely in a better spot, at least onto the quality of life side of things. But unfortunately, in my opinion, they've covered everything that I've spoken about on this channel about the class, pretty much how we're lacking evasion or accuracy buff. And in reality, I think personally this is a change in the right direction, and I really hope that Pearl Abyss listens more to us on this matter of Awakening Maegu and actually give us an attack speed increase. It's so essential for us to have an attack speed increase. When we get our Z buff up, the class is absolutely stunning. When we don't have the Z buff up, the class feels incredibly underwhelming. That is because we don't have a merging point between non-Z buff and Z buff, and that merging point usually is a self-attack speed buff. So guys, it's incredible. Let's see what's up. Alright guys, so we are on the Global Labs. This is what we have over here with our Maegu, and the official ability, which was named Front Paw, is actually Fox Flare Cleave. And now Fox Flare Cleave has the 9 evasion rate, -9 evasion rate for 10 seconds. Now this is really good because actually this ability is one of the very first things that you're going to go for. Usually the combo goes like a little bit of a Shift Q, you do an RMB, a cleave, and then you can really start in with whatever. But the fact that we now have a viable evasion buff, which is literally an ability that is on 5-second cooldown. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Now, it's a very small range ability. It's nothing grand, right? So it still is going to, you know, cleave in some fair portion in front of you. Now, in terms of the buff itself, so let's just stack that real quick. The buff right now is 10 seconds, which means that we can go into the pre-awakening really viably. We can actually shoot so many things. Unfortunately, the Rabam skill is going to drop that buff. So we will have to find a way to kind of work around that. What can we say about this, guys? It just feels so much better to be able to go into pre-awakening from awakening. Sorry, I don't have potions here. I'm gonna probably set this up properly before I do anything else. But yeah, go forward E, you can do a shift E, you can do an RMB to debuff everything, you can do a shift RMB afterwards, get inside the entirety of Maegu's kit, and you can just feel free to stack the kit again. So it's such a crazy quality of life change, I can't even begin to tell you, it's so good. Now, perhaps in my opinion, this would have been better on Twirling Retreat, because Twirling Retreat already had an evasion rate, and now this begs the question, will do these two stack? And I mean, let's see, do they stack? So we're gonna use just our hold on a minute, let's see, the cleave onto base stacks it, and let's do, no it doesn't. So basically we have right now a very pretty much useless all evasion rate -6% for 20 seconds at the very least on the Twirling Retreat BSR ability, which we will be probably locking. The only time I've ever used this was in Crypt of Resting Thoughts when I was testing Awakening Maegu. But with that being said, Fox Flare Cleave will just handle this. Now, it's a little bit conflicting. I'm not sure, as I said, I don't think this is a good idea for this to be here. A very cool thing, and I really mean it, would probably be to move the Fox Flare Cleave all evasion rate -9, move it to Twirling Retreat, and make the 25% add an additional 6% to it, so it's 15%. You know, Dark Knights have 15%. I think it was 15%. Don't kill me for that. I think Dark Knights have 15%. So it's going to be something very cool to have this ability be a little bit, how can I say, a little bit more emphasized upon, because Twirling Retreat is not really used that often. So it would have been a very, very cool way to give more purpose to the ability. Fox Flare Cleave, amazing, like don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but I still do believe that perhaps switching the debuff to Twirling Retreat would be better. This is a little bit of my feedback if anybody would listen to it. So with that said, guys, it looks amazing so far. The changes to Emberclaw Finale, they're all here, Emberclaw Slash and the flow of it, and of course Emberclaw Torrent. It feels really good, it feels like really, really good. But yeah, it just feels amazing. It really feels smooth. The fact that you have an evasion buff, it just feels absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, any back movement, literally any back movement, is going to drop that away from her, including the downwards E button. I think this is trying to punish the class for going defensive. I think it's a balanced thing. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see each other soon.